Hi, I'm Sabrina Register. Welcome to Neighborhoods. We are here in Chehalis, Washington, the seat of Lewis County. And it's only fitting that the oldest county in Washington state boasts an operating steam train with a locomotive from the early 1900s, as well as a vintage motorcycle museum. But Chehalis began in the late 1800s, and that's where we began. Chehalis was settled by default, not design. In the 1870s, when the Northern Pacific Railroad built northward from Kalama to Tacoma, it ignored Tlaquato, the county seat. Settlers decided if the railroad would not go to the county seat must go to the railroad. A store and houses were constructed, and Chehalis, formerly known as Saundersville, became the new county seat. When you visit Chehalis, reminders of the town's early ties to the railroad are easy to find. Just off I-5 is the Chehalis Centralia Railroad and Museum.
Steam locomotives are an attraction. They're kind of like a pretty girl.
Harold Borovec is the train's chief mechanical officer. He was just one when this 1916 Baldwin logging locomotive began making the journey east toward Mount St. Helens in 1928.
After about 1954, the line was abandoned and the locomotive ended up in the park over on the other side of town. And it remained there for over 30 years. And a couple of strangers came to town, established businesses here, and they said, we need something to rejuvenate this place. So they said, how about getting the locomotive out of the park and operating it? This was in about 1986, and so we did that. And by 1989, we had it running. It's been running ever since.
Since there are so few steam locomotives left in the U.S. where visitors can hop aboard and take a ride, this beauty draws them in from all over.
We'll have people that fly over from England and Australia, Germany, the Netherlands. They're seeking out good locomotives.
Experience how steam railroading used to be. The train operates in the summer over a 9-mile section of track that extends southwest from Chehalis. The historic rail line covers scenic farmlands, hills, and even covers several wooden trestles. Once you finish your train ride, head next door to a one-of-a-kind museum, the Veterans Memorial Museum. The museum is a must-see for U.S. history buffs. It includes uniforms and artifacts from men and women who have served our country, from the Revolutionary War to the present. And then there are the poignant first-hand accounts from veterans themselves, enduring years in prison camps and sharing their fears of war. Another museum worth checking out is the Lewis County Museum in Chehalis, housed in the former 1912 Northern Pacific Depot. There's a lot to see and watch inside.
Behind me is it's an HO scale model railroad layout. It actually runs. It's a Digitrack system ran on remote control. We have a blacksmith shop, we have our little mercantile store, and everything in our museum is from Lewis County.
The museum has a room dedicated to the Cowlitz and Chehalis tribes, plus a display on the Southwest Washington Fair, celebrating its 100th year this summer. It also houses what's left of the stump. President Teddy Roosevelt stood atop in 1903 when he visited Chehalis and spoke to a crowd of about 10,000. Photos, artifacts, and memorabilia that will teach future generations about Chehalis and Lewis County.
It's very important. We don't want to lose the history of our county. Yeah, and people have to have a place to bring things, such as their artifacts that people have brought us over the years. We don't want to lose that history. Plus, we have several oral history tapes, research material, biographies, and everything on a lot of people that were pioneers of this area.
Just a block from the museum is the downtown core. Missing in this town is a lot of hustle and bustle, and that's just fine with the people of Chehalis.
It's a small town. I think we're a population of about 7,000.
David Hartz is co-owner of Book and Brush, a store that has been around for 4 decades. He says people are friendly and familiar.
The appeal is that pretty much we get to know our customers and they get to know us. One of my staff is J.C. Hewitt. He retired from teaching after 34 years. When customers come in and talk to him, he looks up at them and says, "I think I had one of your children as a student," and that just produces a good knowledge of who our customers are. We love it. It's fun to be able, I could literally walk to the bank, walk to the post office, walk to City Hall, and walk to the other local businesses and be back here within 5 minutes or so.
Mayor Tony Ketchum agrees.
The biggest draws, I think, is the people. The people, we're unique ourselves, we're friendly, we're helpful, and it's a quiet town, it's a safe town. It's a place you can bring your families and walk around and see what we have to offer.
Chehalis is working to forge a bright future while preserving its past. The city boasts 3 historic districts, while it enjoys a beautiful new library, funded in large part by former Starbucks CEO Orrin Smith, who grew up in Chehalis. The city also works to move past its headlines as a flood-ravaged town.
Anyone who was here in December 2007 knows firsthand how devastating the winter floods were. I-5 was shut down for days at an economic cost of $8 million a day. But Chehalis refused to die, a testament to this town and its people.
It's pretty amazing to be at the counter and have someone come in and they've lost everything. And here they are buying a book for Christmas of all times. So it was trauma that everybody felt. We may not have all gotten wet, but we all felt the pain.
That's one of the characteristics of the people of Chehalis. Over the times, they've always come to the rescue of everybody around, whether it be our city or the cities around us. They've all come up and helped dig us out from the mud, the water, and they're here to stay, and they fight to keep the city going and keep the beauty of the city going.
A restaurant that has survived numerous floods is Mary McCrank's off Jackson Highway. The popular eatery, originally known as the Dutch Mill Inn, was bought by Mary McCrank during the Depression. Customers came back to Mary and her made-from-scratch meals for half a century. Current owner Jerry Shop says the same people have been coming for years.
Some people came here with their grandparents, some people came here with their parents. They come back for memories, things when they were kids. Remember playing out in the yard, or Mary McCrank getting onto them for drinking pop. A lot of history here.
Chehalis got a jump start when the Vintage Motorcycle Museum opened its doors just over a decade ago. The museum specializes in original and fully restored pre-1916 Indians, Harleys, Excelsiors, and much more. And then there are the bicycles, enough to keep you entertained for hours. From a rare wooden bicycle known as the first American bicycle to this 1960s Spacelander made from fiberglass. It was only a matter of time before word got out about Frank Mason's extensive collection.
We actually have them come from, again, all over the United States and Europe. Our guest book is upstairs there on the counter, and if you look at that, I think the last group was from Japan. And so we do get them from all over.
Which is great for other businesses in Chehalis.
Well, you know, I think it actually sometimes fits in better in the smaller towns than a large city, because it tends to be an attraction. And it'll bring people into our little town, the downtown area, and this has worked especially good for us.
Despite their age, many of these vintage vehicles still run.
So Frank, tell me about this one here.
This motorcycle is a 1908 Indian, very rare. There's only 3 of them to exist. Very popular because that's when they started in taking additional passengers on the motorcycles. And so they called them a tri-car or a 4-car because of the seat being in front. Proved to be dangerous in a very short time, so they were very short-lived and very few existed in one piece. So they moved the 4-car to the side, and they become sidecars that we're used to today, and like the 1915 Indian with the sidecar. So
And there's only 3 left?
There's only 3 to exist.
With one right in our own backyard. The museum is open weekdays from 9 to 1 and on weekends by appointment. There's a lot happening in Chehalis this summer. Fair seekers can experience the Centennial Southwest Washington Fair. And in the last weekend of August, it's all things garlic at the Garlic Festival.
We get possibly up to 10,000 people come in for the weekend. It started out on a family farm with historic buildings that they had out there. And this last year we brought it into the Southwest Washington Fairgrounds, brought it in there, kept the same venue and everything, and easier parking access, and people are used to having it now, and I think we've made a spot for us every summer.
Chehalis has not abandoned but embraced its railroad roots and evolved into a town with a lot to offer. For Neighborhoods, I'm Sabrina Register.